Hermaphrodite. They used to settle with Hermaphrodite. It would appease, it would stop the wars, the conflicts, when they decided that the deity was Hermaphrodite. You know, when everything was destroyed, torched, most people was gone, and the survivors just gathered. Okay, let's stop this and rebuild and settle with Hermaphrodite. All right, yeah, let's do that. Before that, just the idea that the gender as a dominant, deity. It's a woman, it's a man. Oh no, it's a woman, it's a man, and they would create factions and attack each other. You know, that's the one god. They just couldn't decide what gender it was. And then someone came along and said, "Oh, but there's many gods after all. Why are you, fighting for one god? There's many, and there's men and women, and therefore you can avoid conflict. Just choose one of your liking, and that's it." And oh, that's a good idea. So who's your god? Oh, it's the goddess of mountains, the goddess of rivers, and stuff like that. And, oh really? Mother Earth, that's pretty cool. Mine is the god of the winds. Therefore my god is above your god, and your god kneels before my god. And conflict started again. They just couldn't get by. They just couldn't get by, right? But there's a philosophy, there's a metaphysic discipline, or a mystery school, or whatever you want to call it, that it's not polytheistic, it's not monotheistic, it's not deistic or animistic. It's none of those. And this philosophy excludes duality and creationism, because duality creates division. You only have two choices. Besides, duality doesn't exist in nature. It doesn't exist. It only comes from the mind of sick people, I would say. Duality negates the gray spaces, negates the critical thinking. It just gives you two choices, and that's it. And it's excellent to divide people and control them. So creationism is the same. This idea that there's this entity that created everything. Yeah, that's the slave master. He owns and creates. If you want to do anything in this creation, you have to go through him. You have to go through him. Yeah, and he can destroy everything if he wants. So it can become a tyrant or a benevolent creator, right? It depends how you behave. So they give you a book of rules, and you have to follow those rules. So whenever an earthquake happened, or a tsunami, or a twister, or something, a natural catastrophe, these priests would come out. You didn't pray enough. Yeah, you didn't pray enough to the god of the volcano. That's why it exploded. You have to give me all your money and your virgins and your cattle. You have to give me everything so I can appease the god. Blah 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 and bullshit. So creationism is also a cul-de-sac. Yeah, it's a dynamic of master and slave. So so what is this philosophy that I was talking about? It's called emanationism. It's called monastic, emanationism, in which there's no duality, there's no original sin. Yeah, there's no creator. The Greeks used to call it the monad, the one. The ancient Indians also call it the one. Yeah, and the Greeks used to explain it as being a principle and an attribute, because everything in that we know has to have a principle and an attribute. If it doesn't have attributes, it's not a thing. It might exist, but it's not a thing. I mean, for instance, a shadow doesn't have any attributes. Like space, it doesn't have attributes. It's the absence of something. So a shadow is the absence of something. Yeah, it's the absence of the light. So it's not a thing, really. So this principle, right, metaphorically speaking, had an alter ego, and this alter ego, they used to call it the demiurgus, right? And the demiurgus is responsible for everything that you are seeing. The demiurgus, it's almost like this is not a sentient entity, all right? Besides, it's actually very difficult to define what is the monad. You can try with affirmation. The monad is this, that. The monad is what's good and what's beautiful. Yeah, it's true. You can go that route. But I think you will come closer to defining what the one is by using the negative theology, trying to define what God isn't, what the monad isn't, which is something we can't use, for instance, any measurement or concept or metaphor. We can get closer using magic, metaphor, symbology, closer to defining it, but there's no measurement or something that you can compare it, because it is everything and nothing at the same time. It is everything, because everything emanates from the monad, but we never seen the monad. We don't know what it is. Yeah, the negative theology is what the Abrahamics hate the most. First, because they don't understand it, and even if they try to understand it, it will destroy all of their paradigm. It just destroys their paradigm, because there's no duality and no creation involved. So their whole political control system just collapses, and they just hate it. So this demiurgus, it's like a dream. The entity, the monad, is not sentient, and everything emanates. Similar to you when you go to sleep and you start dreaming. Dreams just appear out of nowhere. It represents your things that you want, that you desire, and it also represents things that you fear, and etc. Right? And it's similar to what's going on. This holographic reality that we are experiencing, it's almost like that. It's an emanation from the one. So there's no creator or duality or any of that sort. It's and it avoids conflict. Yeah, it can brings everybody to a level playing field, and yeah. But of course, it is not a popular idea. It's not a popular philosophy. Of course, it isn't. It doesn't polarize people. Polarization, and to get them to do what you're bidding. So right now there's this gender war happening. Yeah, this is nothing new. Yeah. Now they are pandering, pandering to the female side. And the politicians are having a blast, because the more they pander to the female side, the more power they get. And these people who are obsessed with power, their worst fear is to lose power. So to fix this situation, it will require the concept of the philosopher king. But there's so few, and so there's so few philosophers, that actually philosophy has been. Should I say, destroyed. Now the philosophy that they pass in schools, it's not philosophy, it's just navel gazing and identity crisis. Again, politics is identity politics, basically, what they pass for philosophy. Philosophy is the study of the spiritual and the physical. That's philosophy. Yeah. It's metaphysics. It's a mystery school. There's no separating the physical from the spiritual, and the spiritual from the physical. In ancient metaphysics, they say the spiritual, or God, or the monad, or whatever you want to call it. It wanted to experience individualization. So out of all of these creatures that emanated from the principle and the attribute, all of these creatures, they were inanimate, like stones. And so the principle said, I'm going to enter these creatures and make them move. Let's see what happens. And the deity entered, and all these entities, all these people and animals, start moving about. And for the first time, the entity experienced individualization. And once it experienced it now it's extremely difficult to go back. So it's almost like the entity or the deity has lost itself, in this individualization. It's so awesome, individualization. It's so awesome to be an individual. So the cycle of rebirth, reincarnation, whatever you want to call it, will be perpetrated. Every time you are attracted to someone, that's the entity, the deity. Some people call it Eros, who wants to and divide itself once more, and be reborn. Right. So the children that are born, it's the next. It's the next reincarnation which the deity experiences again. Individualization. That, of course, there's ways of stopping the individualization. Some people have attained it, but I suppose they eventually return. They eventually return to the worlds. To the worlds. It's not just one. It's many. To the worlds of that emanate from the one. Anyway, this is just ideas. And I mean, does it avoid conflict? I suppose it does, because it's not polarizing, it's not dual, and it's not creationist. And but again, it's not a popular idea, of course not.